The text message came through at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was between shifts, sitting in my office reviewing trauma protocols, when my phone buzzed with a number I hadn't heard from in 4 years. Liv, it's Marcus. Vanessa and I are getting engaged. Party is December 28th at the Boulevard Club. I need to be honest with you. I don't think you should come. Vanessa's inviting MPPs, business leaders, major donors. You're just an ER doctor. It would be awkward, trying to explain what you do when everyone else there has real careers. No hard feelings. I'll send you a gift registry link. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Just an ER doctor. 4 years of silence. And that's what my older brother had to say to me. I didn't respond. What was there to say? Marcus had made his position clear years ago when I turned down his offer to work in his marketing firm's HR department. Emergency medicine? That's a waste of your degree, Liv. You'll burn out in 5 years and have nothing to show for it. Come work for me. Better hours, better pay, and you won't spend your life dealing with junkies and drunks. That conversation had been the beginning of the end. Our parents had passed away in a car accident when I was 23. During my first year of medical school, Marcus, 7 years older and already established in his career, had become unbearable after that. Every family dinner became a lecture about my choices. Every holiday gathering turned into an interrogation about when I'd get serious about my future. The final straw came 4 years ago at Dad's birthday memorial dinner. Marcus had brought his then-girlfriend, some corporate lawyer, and spent the entire evening telling her how I was playing at being a doctor in the ER instead of choosing a respectable specialty like dermatology or family medicine. I'd walked out that night and never looked back. Changed my number. Moved to a new condo. Had my assistant screen any calls from his number at the hospital. For 4 years, Marcus had tried to reach me maybe a dozen times, always around holidays, always half-hearted attempts that my assistant, Jennifer, politely deflected. Dr. Hart's schedule is extremely full. I'll pass along your message. Now here he was, 4 years later, texting to uninvite me from an engagement party I didn't even know was happening, to a woman I'd never met. Because I was just an ER doctor. I set my phone down and went back to my trauma protocols. I had actual lives to save. What Marcus didn't know, what he'd never bothered to find out, was that I wasn't just an ER doctor anymore. I hadn't been for 2 years. I was Dr. Olivia Hart, Chief of Emergency Medicine at Toronto General Hospital, the youngest person ever appointed to the position at 34. I oversaw a department of 73 physicians and over 200 nurses. I'd pioneered a new triage protocol that had reduced critical patient mortality rates by 18%. I'd published in the New England Journal of Medicine. I'd testified before Parliament about emergency medical funding. Last year, I'd received the Canadian Medical Association's Award for Excellence in Emergency Medicine. My office wasn't some dingy break room. It was a corner suite on the administrative floor with windows overlooking University Avenue. I had my own assistant, an executive parking spot, and a budget that I managed for one of the busiest emergency departments in the country. But Marcus didn't know any of that. Because Marcus had never asked. He'd made his assumptions 4 years ago and built a wall around them that no amount of truth could penetrate. I should mention that I'd met Vanessa Caldwell exactly once, 3 years ago, at a healthcare policy symposium. She'd just been elected as the MPP for Toronto Danforth and was on a committee reviewing emergency medical services funding. We'd had a 30-minute conversation about resource allocation in urban hospitals. She'd been sharp, asked good questions, took actual notes. At the time, she'd introduced herself as Vanessa Caldwell, MPP. I'd introduced myself as Dr. Olivia Hart, Toronto General Emergency Medicine. We'd exchanged business cards. She'd never followed up, and I'd assumed our proposals hadn't made it through committee. I had no idea she was dating my brother. Marcus had never mentioned her name in his sporadic attempts to contact me, and I certainly hadn't been following his social media. The irony wasn't lost on me. Jennifer knocked on my door around 4. Dr. Hart? The board meeting starts in 20 minutes. They want to discuss the expansion proposal. Thanks, Jen. I'll head up now. She hesitated. Also, your brother called the main line again. Third time this month. What did you tell him? Same as always. That you're unavailable and I'd pass along the message. She paused. He sounded agitated this time, kept insisting it was urgent family business. It's fine. If he calls again? Same response. Jennifer nodded and left. She'd been with me since I took the chief position. Ex-military, unflappable, fiercely protective of my time. She knew the basics about Marcus. That we were estranged. That he'd been condescending about my career. She'd fielded his calls for 2 years without ever letting him through. The board meeting ran long. Budget discussions always did. By the time I got back to my office, it was past 7. I had a stack of performance reviews to sign off on, and a grant proposal deadline looming. My phone buzzed again. Marcus. Vanessa wants to do a hospital tour next week for a photo op. Some initiative about emergency medical funding. I told her Toronto General probably isn't the best choice. Too busy, too chaotic. Trying to steer her toward Mount Sinai instead. Just a heads up in case anyone from her office reaches out. Don't make this awkward. I actually laughed out loud. The audacity was stunning. Vanessa Caldwell wanted to tour the emergency department I ran, and my brother was actively trying to prevent it because he was afraid I'd make it awkward. I didn't respond to that message either. 2 days later, Jennifer came into my office with a peculiar expression. Dr. Hart, I just got off the phone with the office of MPP Vanessa Caldwell. They want to schedule a tour of our emergency department for next Wednesday. Something about a healthcare funding announcement. Did they give specifics? Press conference at 10 a.m., followed by a tour of the ER. They want you to lead it personally. Apparently, MPP Caldwell specifically requested the chief of emergency medicine. I kept my face neutral. Confirm it. Standard protocol. Notify security. Brief the staff. Clear the schedule. Jennifer made a note. They mentioned she'll have her fiancé with her. A Marcus Hart? She looked up. Is that? Yes. Oh. Jennifer's expression shifted from curious to something like vindicated satisfaction. Should I mention to her office that you and Mr. Hart are related? No. Let's keep this professional. It's a standard departmental tour for a government official, that's all. Understood. Jennifer turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, Dr. Hart, you've earned every bit of respect this department gives you. Your brother's opinion is irrelevant. Thank you, Jen. After she left, I sat back in my chair and considered the situation. Part of me knew I should reach out to Marcus, warn him, give him a chance to avoid the inevitable awkwardness. That would be the mature thing to do. But another part of me, the part that had spent years being dismissed, condescended to, and treated like a failure by my own brother, that part wanted to see his face when he realized the truth. I didn't reach out. The weekend passed. Monday came and went. Tuesday, I prepped the department for the tour, briefed the senior staff, made sure the ER was running smoothly, reviewed the latest statistics for the press conference. Jennifer had coordinated everything with Vanessa's office. The MPP would arrive at 9:45 a.m. We'd do the press conference in the main lobby at 10, then a guided tour of the emergency department, followed by a brief Q&A session with select staff. Standard procedure. I'd done a dozen of these for various politicians and officials over the past 2 years. Wednesday morning, I arrived at 6 a.m. as usual. Rounds at 6:30, department meeting at 7:15. Administrative work until 9. At 9:30, I changed into a fresh white coat, the one with Dr. Olivia Hart, Chief of Emergency Medicine, embroidered in navy blue thread, and headed down to the main lobby. Security had already set up the press area. Hospital administration was there, our CEO, the PR director, a few board members. Media was setting up cameras. At 9:43 a.m., Jennifer's voice came through my phone. Dr. Hart, MPP Caldwell's car just pulled up. Thanks, Jen. I'm in the lobby. 2 minutes later, Vanessa Caldwell walked through the main entrance in a navy suit. her assistant trailing behind with a tablet, and behind them, Marcus. He was looking at his phone, distracted, hadn't glanced up yet. Vanessa was shaking hands with our CEO, all smiles and politician charm. Mr. Richardson, thank you so much for hosting us today. This initiative is so important to our government. We're delighted to have you, MPP Caldwell. Let me introduce you to our Chief of Emergency Medicine, who'll be leading today's tour. Vanessa turned toward me, already extending her hand, her smile professional and warm. Then she stopped. Her eyes widened slightly. Dr. Hart? MPP Caldwell. It's good to see you again. You're the Chief of Emergency Medicine here? For the past 2 years? Yes. Marcus finally looked up from his phone. He saw me. His face went through several expressions in rapid succession: confusion, recognition, disbelief. Liv? Vanessa's head whipped toward him. You know Dr. Hart? She's my sister. The lobby went very quiet. Our CEO looked between us, puzzled. Vanessa's expression had shifted from surprise to something much more complex. Realization, then calculation, then what looked distinctly like anger. Your sister, Vanessa repeated slowly. The one who works at, how did you phrase it? Some hospital ER? Marcus's face was draining of color. Vanessa, I can explain. You told me your sister was an entry-level emergency room doctor who mostly dealt with drunk patients. You said she worked irregular hours at a small hospital and that she'd be uncomfortable around successful people. Vanessa's voice was level, but there was steel underneath. This is Toronto General Hospital, Doctor. Hart is the chief of one of the country's premier emergency medicine departments. I could have interrupted, could have smoothed it over, but I was finding the moment oddly satisfying in a way I knew I'd feel guilty about later. Marcus was stammering. I didn't. I thought. Liv, you never told me you got promoted. You never asked, Marcus. In 4 years, you never once asked what I actually did. You just assumed. Our CEO, bless him, had the political instinct to redirect. Perhaps we should proceed with the press conference? MPP Caldwell, the media is ready. Vanessa took a breath, visibly composing herself. Yes, of course. She looked at me. Dr. Hart, I'd appreciate if you could join me at the podium. I'd like to highlight the leadership that makes departments like yours so effective. The press conference went smoothly, all things considered. Vanessa announced a $15 million funding increase for emergency departments across the province. She praised Toronto General's innovative approaches. She mentioned our mortality rate improvements and our triage protocols. And she made a point, a very clear point, of highlighting my credentials. Dr. Olivia Hart received her medical degree from the University of Toronto, completed her emergency medicine residency at Johns Hopkins, and returned to Toronto General as an attending physician before being appointed chief at the unprecedented age of 34. Under her leadership, this department has become a model for the entire country. Marcus stood off to the side, looking like he wanted the floor to swallow him. Vanessa didn't look at him once during the entire press conference. After the media questions wrapped up, we began the tour. I led Vanessa, her assistant, Marcus, and our CEO through the emergency department. I showed them our trauma bays, explained our protocols, introduced her to some of our senior physicians. Dr. Patel, one of our top trauma surgeons, shook Vanessa's hand enthusiastically. Dr. Hart's triage system has saved dozens of lives this year alone. We're lucky to have her leadership. Nurse Clark, who'd been with the ER for 15 years, added, Best chief we've ever had. Actually listens to the frontline staff. Every compliment, every acknowledgement of my position and expertise seemed to make Marcus shrink a little more. We were halfway through the tour when Vanessa's phone rang. She glanced at it, frowned. Excuse me one moment. She stepped away to take the call. When she came back, her face was pale. That was my sister. My nephew Alex was in a car accident. They're bringing him here. They said he's critical. Everything shifted immediately. I went into chief mode. What's the ETA? Vanessa's assistant checked her phone. Ambulance is 7 minutes out. Come with me. I led them quickly toward Trauma Bay 1. Dr. Williams, one of our senior residents, turned. MVA, critical patient. 7 minutes. I need you to prep Trauma 1. Get Dr. Chen down here stat. Full trauma team. On it, Dr. Hart. I turned to Vanessa. How old is Alex? 19. He's a first-year student at U of T. Oh God, his mother, she was shaking. We're going to take excellent care of him. I promise. But I need you to wait in the family consultation room. You can't be in the trauma bay. I'm not leaving him. Vanessa. I made my voice firm but compassionate. I understand. But if you're in that room, I'm treating a patient in front of his aunt who's also a government official, and that's a distraction my team can't afford. You need to trust us to do our jobs, please. She stared at me for a moment, then nodded. Okay. Okay. I had Jennifer take Vanessa and Marcus to the consultation room. Then I scrubbed in. The next 90 minutes were controlled chaos. Alex came in with a collapsed lung, internal bleeding, and a head injury. We intubated, did a chest tube, got him stabilized enough for surgery. Dr. Chen, our chief of trauma surgery, took him up to the OR. It was after 1 p.m. when I finally peeled off my gloves and went to the consultation room. Marcus and Vanessa were sitting on opposite sides of the room. They looked like they'd been arguing. Alex is in surgery, I said without preamble. He's stable. Dr. Chen is one of the best trauma surgeons in the country. The head injury was less severe than we initially thought. A concussion, not a bleed. The chest tube resolved the collapsed lung. The internal bleeding was from a lacerated spleen. Dr. Chen is removing it now. Vanessa stood up. He's going to be okay? Barring complications, yes. It'll be a long recovery, but he's young and healthy. The prognosis is good. She sat down heavily, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, God, thank you. Dr. Chen will be down to update you when the surgery's done. It'll probably be another 2 hours. There's a cafeteria on the second floor if you need anything. I turned to leave. Olivia, Marcus's voice. Can we talk? I'm working, Marcus. Please, just 5 minutes. I checked my watch. 5 minutes. Consultation room 3. Down the hall. Once we were alone in the smaller room, Marcus ran his hands through his hair. Liv, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know you were the chief here. You didn't know because you never asked. I tried to call. For years. I tried. You called maybe 10 times in 4 years. And every message was the same. Hey Liv, hope you're doing okay, call me back. You never asked about my work. You never asked about my life. You just assumed I was still the entry-level ER doctor you dismissed 4 years ago. That's not fair. You uninvited me from your engagement party because you thought I was beneath your fiancé's friends. You told Vanessa I was uncomfortable around successful people. You actively tried to prevent her from touring this hospital because you were afraid I'd embarrass you. How is that not fair, Marcus? He sat down. You're right. God, you're right. I was an ass. I've been an ass for years. Yes, you have been. Vanessa's furious with me. She said I've been lying to her about you. And she's right. I told her you were barely scraping by, that you'd dropped out of medicine, that you were working reception at some walk-in clinic. I don't even know why I said those things. Because you needed me to fail, I said quietly. After Mom and Dad died, you needed to be the successful one, the one who had it all figured out, and that meant I had to be the one who was struggling. Marcus looked up at me, his eyes red. That's not, I mean, he trailed off. Maybe that's part of it. I don't need your excuses, Marcus. I need you to understand something. I built this career myself. No help from you. No network connections. Just hard work and skill. I'm good at what I do. Really good. And I don't need validation from you or anyone else. I know. I saw it today. The way your staff talked about you. The way you handled Alex's trauma. Liv, you were incredible. I do that every day. That's my job. He nodded slowly. Vanessa said. She said she might call off the engagement. She said if I can't see my own sister's worth, how can she trust me to value anyone else? Part of me wanted to feel vindicated. But mostly I just felt tired. Do you love her? Yes. Does she love you? I think so. I hope so. Then fix it. Stop lying to make yourself feel superior. Stop diminishing other people's accomplishments to prop up your own. Actually listen when people tell you about their lives. And Marcus? I looked at him directly. Get therapy. Because this isn't just about me. This is a pattern. And if you don't deal with it, you're going to destroy every relationship you have. He was quiet for a long moment. Will you? Could we try again? As siblings? I don't know. Maybe. Eventually. But not now. Right now, I need space. And you need to figure out who you are when you're not putting other people down. That's fair. I stood up. I need to get back to work. Liv? He stood too. For what it's worth, Mom and Dad would be proud of you. What you've accomplished. Who you've become. My throat tightened. Thanks, Marcus. I left him there and went back to the ER. 3 more traumas came in that afternoon. A construction accident, a cardiac arrest, a car pedestrian collision. We saved 2 out of 3. Not a bad day, all things considered. At 6 p.m., Dr. Chen came down to report that Alex's surgery had been successful. He'd be in ICU for a few days, but was expected to make a full recovery. Vanessa came to find me in my office at 7. She looked exhausted. Dr. Hart. Olivia. Can we talk? Of course. She sat across from my desk. I owe you an apology. At the symposium 3 years ago, you gave me your card. I should have followed up. If I had, I would have known who you were. I would have made the connection. You had no reason to connect my name to Marcus. We don't have the same last name on social media, and we haven't been in contact. Still, I should have done better research before judging your invitation to our party, Marcus said. He said some things about you that I believed without question. That was wrong of me. Marcus has his own issues to work through. He does. We had a long talk after you left. I told him I need time to think about whether I can marry someone who treats family that way. She paused. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but I wanted you to know that watching you work today, seeing how your team respects you, hearing how you've transformed this department, it put a lot of things in perspective. I appreciate that. And I wanted to thank you. For saving Alex. For doing your job even when it would have been understandable if you'd recused yourself given the family drama. That's not who I am. A patient is a patient. Politics and personal issues don't belong in the ER. She smiled slightly. That symposium 3 years ago, the proposals we discussed, they influenced the funding package I announced today. Your ideas, your protocols. I couldn't credit you specifically because I didn't remember the conversation clearly enough, but your work has already shaped policy. You should know that. I felt something shift in my chest. Validation I didn't know I needed. Thank you for telling me. After she left, I sat in my office for a long time, watching the city lights flicker on as dusk settled over Toronto. My phone buzzed. Jennifer. Dr. Hart. There's a journalist from the Globe and Mail on line 2. They want to interview you about the funding announcement and your work with trauma protocols. Transfer it through. As I picked up the phone, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the window. White coat with my name and title embroidered. Corner office. Wall of commendations and certifications behind me. I'd built this, every bit of it, without Marcus's approval or support. Despite his doubts and dismissals, the journalist asked intelligent questions. I gave clear, concise answers. We talked about mortality rates and resource allocation and the importance of investing in emergency medicine infrastructure. When she asked how I'd managed to achieve so much at such a young age, I thought about my parents, about the promises I'd made at their funeral, about the 4 years of silence from my brother. I focused on the work, I said finally. I surrounded myself with excellent people, and I never let anyone else's opinion of my worth determine my worth. The interview lasted 20 minutes. When I hung up, Jennifer buzzed again. Dr. Hart, your brother is in the lobby. He says he doesn't need to speak with you, but he wanted to drop something off. Send security to bring it up. 5 minutes later, security brought me a small box. Inside was a framed photograph, one I hadn't seen in years. Me and Marcus with our parents at my medical school graduation. Mom and Dad beaming with pride. Marcus's arm around my shoulders. All of us genuinely happy. There was a note. Liv, I found this in storage. I think you should have it. I'm sorry for the years I wasted being too proud to see what was right in front of me. You were always the stronger one, the smarter one. I was just too insecure to admit it. I'm going to fix this. I promise. Even if it takes years, I'm going to become someone worthy of being your brother. MM. I set the frame on my desk, next to my diplomas and awards. Then I went back to work. 2 months later, Marcus sent me a text. Started therapy. Vanessa and I are working on things. No pressure, but if you're ever willing to grab coffee, I'd really like that. Even if it's years from now, I'll wait. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I saved the message and kept working. 6 months after that, Vanessa called to tell me she and Marcus were getting married after all. Smaller ceremony this time, just close family and friends. She asked if I'd consider coming. I'll think about it, I told her. That's all I can ask. A week before the wedding, I called Marcus. I'll come to the wedding. But Marcus, this doesn't mean everything is fixed. This means I'm willing to try. That's all. That's more than I deserve, he said quietly. Thank you, Liv. Really. The wedding was beautiful. Small and intimate, at a garden venue in Niagara-on-the-Lake. Vanessa's nephew Alex was there too, fully recovered, serving as an usher. During the reception, Marcus came to find me. Vanessa and I are funding a scholarship in Mom and Dad's name, for medical students pursuing emergency medicine. We wanted to call it the Hart Family Emergency Medicine Excellence Scholarship. If that's okay with you. I felt tears prick my eyes. They would have loved that. We were thinking you could help select the recipients. You know better than anyone what makes a good ER doctor. I'd be honored. As the evening wore on, I found myself actually enjoying the celebration. Vanessa introduced me to several of her colleagues, other MPPs, city councilors, healthcare advocates. I exchanged cards with 3 of them for future policy discussions. Near the end of the night, Marcus pulled me aside. I know we're not back to where we were. I know that might take years, or might never happen. But Liv, I want you to know that I'm proud of you. Genuinely, deeply proud. And I'm sorry it took me this long to say it. We both lost a lot of years, I said, but maybe we can make the next ones better. I'd like that. We didn't hug. We weren't there yet. But we shook hands, and that felt right for where we were. Driving back to Toronto that night, I thought about the text message from 10 months ago. You're just an ER doctor. I wasn't just anything. I was Dr. Olivia Hart, Chief of Emergency Medicine. I'd earned that title through years of study, countless hours of hard work, and an unshakable commitment to saving lives. And I'd learned something important through all of this. Your worth isn't determined by whether other people recognize it. It's determined by the work you do, the lives you touch, and the integrity you bring to everything you undertake. Marcus's opinion of me had never actually mattered. What mattered was my opinion of myself, and I knew exactly who I was. Some relationships can be repaired, some can't. But either way, you have to know your own value first. You have to build your life on your own terms, with your own goals, regardless of who doubts you. Because at the end of the day, the only person you have to prove anything to is yourself. And I'd done that, every single day, one trauma case at a time.